Good evening, everybody. I did just hit record, so if you were uncomfortable with being recorded, you're more than welcome to leave your camera off, and you do not have to say anything, and you can use the chat. But welcome to 4-H Alumni Career Night. Our first guest speaker is Eliza Rothenberger. Eliza has a lifelong passion for animal husbandry, having grown up with a variety of pets and beginning horseback riding at the age of 7. As a member of Somerset County 4-H, she was actively involved in multiple clubs that fostered her love for animals and the natural world. She recently graduated from Virginia Tech with the Bachelor's of Science degree in Wildlife Conservation, a field she is deeply passionate about. During her time at Virginia Tech, Eliza participated in a wide range of research projects, both academically and professionally. Her on-campus work included studies on weasel population and migratory shorebirds, where she gained hands-on experience in animal behavior observations, camera trap development, sample collections, and laboratory analysis. And Eliza will tell us a lot more. Here she is. Do I have to share my screen?
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
The green share box.
Which one do I want? This one?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Like Melissa said, my name is Eliza. I just graduated from Virginia Tech with my Bachelor's of Science in Wildlife Conservation, and I'm going to give you guys a little overview of what my college experience was like and why I chose this career. All right, a little bit about me. So I like to consider myself a forever 4-H'er. I was basically born into this program, and I'm still in the program 22 years later. I work for the county of Somerset, I work for Somerset County 4-H right now. So I've been here for a long time. I always had a lot of pets growing up, and I was in a bunch of different 4-H clubs, including alpaca and small animal. So I've always loved animals. And when I told people that, their first question was, do you want to be a vet? And my immediate answer was no. Not because veterinary medicine is bad or not cool or incredibly amazing, but because I could not see that for myself. But when you like domestic animals and you like animals in general, people's first assumption is you either want to be a vet or you want to work in agriculture. And both are great fields, but that just wasn't for me. So if I don't want to do either of that, what else is there? There's wildlife. Also, this picture is from fair many years ago, and that is a leopard gecko. So my college application process was fairly stressful, as it is for everyone, but I applied to colleges during COVID, so I couldn't visit any of them in person, which does make it more difficult because when you apply online, you don't get the sense of a school just looking at the computer. You kind of only feel like, oh, this program looks interesting, but you don't get to see the campus, you don't get to meet people. So that definitely makes a difference. And to combat that, my senior spring break in high school, I visited all 5 of the colleges I applied to, from Vermont down to North Carolina, which was a crazy temperature change because it was snowing in Vermont and 85 degrees and sunny in North Carolina. So that was a wild trip. But that really helped me get a sense of the campus and the people and if I felt like I could fit into that community. I applied to all of my colleges early action, mostly because I wanted to know a decision earlier and because I got it done in time. Just give yourself lots of time to do the applications because it gets pretty tedious to have to do one after the other because they're all very similar. And I applied to 5 colleges in total. So Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, University of Vermont, Rutgers, and University of Delaware. I went into these colleges because I knew they had environmental programs or wildlife programs, but they were also large enough to have other programs in case I decided I didn't like my field anymore. I wanted to switch majors. And I liked the location most of these were in. They were not in big cities, except for Rutgers, which is in New Brunswick, which isn't a huge city, but I liked their location and I liked their programs. So my final decision, like I said, Virginia Tech, majoring in wildlife conservation. Fun fact, my brother, who's in this picture, also went to Virginia Tech, so we were at the school at the same time. He was a senior and I was a freshman. That was actually kind of nice to have like one of your family members there, so you had someone you knew. Also, my parents liked it because they only had to visit one college to come visit us. So great, worked out for everyone. So what classes do you take in wildlife conservation? There's actually some really cool ones. A lot of them are very hands-on, very field-based. You get to work outside with animals, with different tools, and that was really enjoyable. So some of these classes like field biology and field techniques, you are out in your labs in any weather, you're learning the different techniques of trapping animals and capturing and measuring, how to identify, how to take field notes. And that's all really cool because you're learning these before you get to go to jobs. So you have some of these skills developed already. And then you have more specific classes that focus on certain species like mammalogy, herpetology, ornithology, so the study of mammals, herps, and birds. So now you get to learn how to identify specimens, you get to learn body parts and bones and behavior and habitat of all these specific species. We also got to take some other like plant-based classes, so dendrology, the study of trees. By the end of that class, I could identify about 150 trees on site. Very proud of myself. Did not retain that information past one semester. Very sad. So that was fun, but like plant taxonomy, learned how to identify plants. Habitat evaluation, you got to go out and determine good habitat for different species in the area we were in. And then there was also some classes you wouldn't expect, like introduction to GIS and R. These are both computer technology. So GIS is Geographic Information Systems and R is a coding program. And you're like, I went to conservation to be outside and work with animals. Why do I need to know how to do this? These programming tools are actually super important to do population analysis and to pick out locations for your study sites. So while I was not very good at them, they're still really important and they're good to practice. And then an interesting class that a lot of people wouldn't expect is human dimensions of fish and wildlife. So most of us go into conservation or an animal field because we don't want to work with people, we want to work with animals. And unfortunately, that's not the end result. If you want to do conservation, you have to work with people. So this class helps teach you about how do you work with people? How do people in conservation work together? What is the best way to reach the end goal for everyone? And these pictures are from some of my field classes. So I got to, in herpetology and field biology, go out and pick up herps like frogs and turtles. And then that's a picture of the Appalachian Mountains, which is where Virginia Tech is set in. I also studied abroad in college, which was an amazing experience, and I would absolutely recommend if you are able to do it, you should do it. The main reason I was able to do a long-term study abroad is because I came into school with as a sophomore, basically. I came in with 30 credits, which covered my entire freshman year. I took AP classes, I took community college classes. So I took out my biology, chemistry, English, calculus, and foreign language requirements. So I didn't have to take any of those at Virginia Tech. They were all done. And that let me do an entire semester abroad. Otherwise, I would have not been able to do it, or if I didn't study abroad, I would have graduated in 3 years. But I think going to Switzerland is a much better choice. So in the fall of 2022, I went to Ireland for Thanksgiving break. So that was more of a short-term trip focused on culture, the environment, and the history of Ireland. It was gorgeous. This bottom picture is Ireland on the coast. Would absolutely recommend. Really not super related to my major, but it doesn't matter because you still get a lot of the experience. And then Switzerland was my big study abroad. I did that the entire semester of my sophomore year. And this is one of the views that we had right near where we were living. We were in southern Switzerland, right on the border of Italy. So we were on Lake Lugano. And there was a bunch of mountains nearby that we got to hike all the time. And you get these beautiful views. So it was incredible. I would absolutely go back. Again, nothing to do with my major, but that's okay because not everything in college has to be major based. I got to go on the Switzerland program because I was part of the honors college at my school, and they have this program called the Presidential Global Scholars that goes to Switzerland for a semester, and you do a research project while you're there. And so I knew I was going on this trip for 2 years before it happened, which really helped me plan my classes in advance and helped me save up the money for it because it can be very expensive to study abroad if you don't have scholarships. Okay, like Melissa said, I did a lot of research. So here's some images of me doing my research over the years in school and during my summer positions. I worked with least weasels, small mammals, white-tailed deer, shorebirds, scavengers, black bears, and bats. And I did a really wide variety of stuff. I did things with camera traps, which if you don't know are cameras you can mount to like trees in your area, and they will capture motion as animals go past. Hunters often use them as well to get where they want, like good places to hunt, but we use them a lot in wildlife research. So I learned how to set up camera traps, where to put them for different species, how to input the data off of them, how to analyze that data. Sometimes I wasn't the one setting up camera traps, I was just looking at the data, but that still is a really good research ability because now you can analyze behavior, you know how to use Excel, you know how to properly input data. So some of the projects I did with that were the scavengers and the black bears, where deer carcasses would be put out and there would be these trail cameras, and then you'd record and see what species come to eat the carcass. And then we write down, okay, these species were here at this time. This is the behaviors they were engaged in. So that was really cool because you got to see some very unique species and interactions. And the black bear actually had a GoPro collar. So they put a GoPro on a collar, so you got the POV of the black bear. And so you got to see what they were eating and what behaviors they engaged in. There were some really cool videos from that. One of a black bear sitting in a blueberry bush, like pretty high on a mountain and just chilling, munching on blueberries. That was cute. There was a not cute one where the bear was eating another bear. And I did not know bears were cannibalistic. So learning a lot of stuff in that project. But I also did the least weasel work, which is a different sort of camera trapping system where this bottom picture with the chipmunk, that's called a Mostella box system, where it's literally a box with a tube and a camera, and the weasel or whatever small mammal runs through it and you get pictures. So that was a really cool technique to learn. I did a lot of deer work, which surprised me. I didn't realize how much there was to do with white-tailed deer. So my first year at college, I did chronic wasting disease testing on white-tailed deer, which during hunting season, hunters would bring the deer head and we'd remove the lymph nodes, and then you have to test the lymph nodes for this disease, which is prion disease. And it's a nasty disease. We're trying to track the movement and area that it's covering. So that was something I did freshman year. And then my first job, freshman summer, so before sophomore year, was this picture with the fawn where I got to capture and color white-tailed deer fawns, which was very cute because you get to hold little baby deer, but they scream like people, which is very exciting. And we caught them with giant fishing nets. So a lot of questions when we were out in the woods with a giant fishing net. You're like, there's no lake around here. Why are you walking around like that? So that was fun. And then with my shorebird work, that was both laboratory and field research. So with the laboratory research, we would take sediment samples from the eastern shore of Virginia, and in the lab, we would analyze them to see what organisms migratory shorebirds were eating. So the field work for that project was going to the shore and collecting the samples, but also doing identification and point counts of the shorebirds that were there. So that was super fun to learn. And then last summer, I had an REU, which is a research experience for undergraduates, where I got to run my own research project in, I will answer that at the end, in South Bass Island on Lake Erie in Ohio. So these two pictures are of some of the research I did. I did plant identification and browse identification of the white-tailed deer and other species on the island. I did bat acoustic monitoring with these acoustic monitors, which record the echolocation of bats, and it's run through a program so you can identify the bat species. And then I also did small mammal identification with the Mostella boxes. So that's kind of a lot of stuff. I would say take as many opportunities to do research as possible. Half of these, the ones I did in school, only one of them was paid. My shorebird lab was paid. The rest were all volunteer or credit. But the experience I gained from them was really worth it. And I approached most of these labs. These people weren't coming up to me and saying, hey, you should come do research for us. It was me going up to them and saying, hey, your lab is super cool. I really want to be involved in this project. Do you have space for me? And that's a big thing about college is you have to take initiative for your own opportunities in education. All right, so this is a lot of stuff, and ooh, you can't even see some of it. That's okay. These are all the jobs that I could think of that, there we go, that you could do, that didn't help, that you could do with a conservation degree. So a lot of people think it's just, you know, I'm a zookeeper, or I work in a lab, or I do outdoor research, and that's all very true, but you can also do a whole lot more with it. So if you like art, you could be an artist who draws the images for field guides. If you like to do photography, you can be a wildlife photographer. You can be a wildlife extension specialist through one of the extension agencies in any of the land-grant universities. If you like coding and computer work, you can do the GIS specialist or the R specialist who does all of the analysis on the computer. If you have a passion for it, you can find a way to do it in conservation. If you want to work with people, with landowners, with farmers, with the agriculture sector, you can be someone who's the go-between between conservation and landowners, because that's a huge part of conservation. 70 to 75% of all land in America is privately owned, and a huge amount of the species that are threatened and endangered are on private lands. So a lot of what people have to do in conservation is work with private landowners and communicate the needs so that these people can protect their land and we can protect species. So these are also more pictures from my jobs from the shore, the deer, and the island doing plant identification. All right, some advice I have: stay healthy in college. It sounds very basic, but if you can't succeed as a student if you aren't physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. And I want you all to remember, because college can be very stressful, you matter more than your grades. So much more. As long as you are okay physically, mentally, and health and like emotionally, you are going to be okay in life. Your grades are great, and finals are important, and clubs are important, but you are the most important part of college. Try stuff. I joined like 4 or 5 clubs my freshman year, and I didn't stick with them all throughout college, but I got to meet some really cool people. I got to try a bunch of stuff, and some of them led me to some really great opportunities like conferences. Make connections early on. Having professors you can write letters of recommendation or be a reference is super important, but they're again not going to approach you. You have to approach them. I found my faculty mentor within the first week of college, which is not normal. You don't do that. It's not the expectation. But she was teaching one of my freshman classes, and on the back of our name note cards, we had to write what is one goal we had for college. And I wrote I wanted to find a horse barn to ride at. And her and one of her grad students approached me after class and said they ride at a barn off campus and that I should join them. So right there, I had a connection, and I stuck with that professor and her lab and those grad students for the entire time I was at college. They became a really great support system, advocates for me. They wrote letters of rec, they became references, and I have a really great relationship with them even now. So that's super important. Approach professors who you think are interesting, grad students who think are interesting. Make those connections early on. A lot of jobs require you to have 2 to 3 people who can talk about you. Are you a good student? Were you a good worker? And it can be kind of hard to maintain those connections if you're not in their class. So keep coming back to their office. You can email them, let them know what's going on in your life, send them updated resumes so they know what's going on. And then after college, you also have to maintain those connections. So you can't just let it go. They were not going to remember you in 5 years if you don't ever talk to them. Scholarships. College is expensive, especially if you're out of state. So apply to all of the scholarships. 4-H Association has a bunch. 4-H in general has a lot. You can get merit scholarships if you have really good standardized testing grades or normal grades. You can get need-based scholarships. If you apply to it, there's the possibility of you getting it. If you don't apply, you'll never get it. So even if you don't think you are 100% applicable to a scholarship, still try, because maybe nobody else applied and you get the money regardless. Same concept for jobs. I applied to about 40 jobs after my freshman year and got one. But if I hadn't applied to that one, I wouldn't have got it, even though I didn't think I was qualified and I didn't think I had the skills for it. People will still hire you even if you're not 100% what they're looking for, because a lot of skills are trainable on the job. So just keep asking. The worst they can say is no. And then only commit to college if you know what you want. I would not recommend going to an expensive out-of-state school if you are very vague about whether or not you really want to go to college. It's very expensive and it's time consuming. So if you have an idea of what you want to do, go for it, go to college. If you think, I know I'm going to thrive at college, but I'm undecided on a major, go for it. If you think it's maybe not the best place for you, start at community college. You can get a really good education there, get all of your basics out of the way, and then you can move on to another university or you can do something else. Trade school is also a great option, or if you have a job right out of high school, that's also great. Pick a path that works best for you and not one that just, because everybody says college is amazing, you don't have to do it if you don't think it's fit for you. Okay, some just general tips. We all see those videos of like really cute dorm aesthetics and matching outfits and matching items, and they're great, and it makes college look amazing. But practicality is so much more important. I can tell you right now, none of my dorm stuff matched each other, but I also didn't have to buy any of it because most of it was hand-me-downs, and that helps save a lot of money. And you're going to end up using these items for hopefully 4 years of college, so make sure they're sturdy, make sure they're not too expensive. College can be expensive in and of itself, and you got to make do with what you have. Thrifting is also your best friend. I thrifted so much in college. I thrifted half my furniture for my like off-campus housing in college. It's great. I got a $70 couch from Goodwill. Very proud of that find. Facebook Marketplace, people post stuff out there all the time trying to get rid of it from their dorms, from their houses. And then during move-out season, people just put stuff to the curb, like very good furniture or like perfectly usable things that they just don't feel like putting to the trash or donation, and you can take. Free things in college are great. Explore your area. In Virginia Tech, we're in the Appalachian Mountains, so it's a really gorgeous area. There's amazing hiking. So taking that time to go off campus, stop studying, stop doing homework, and just be in your environment is really important because it really helps you feel a little bit more grounded in where you are and helps you build that community and that sense of belonging. And then finally, go to some conferences if you're given the opportunity. No matter what your major is, no matter what you want to do in life, Conferences are a great way to make connections, realize what new research and opportunities and jobs are in your field. I went to one conference when I was in college and I kind of wish I did more, but I didn't have any research to present. I didn't have a post to present. I was just going to experience it, and I made some really good connections with professionals in the field, with other people who are students, and I went to some lectures about research that I would totally join in the future. So conferences are a great way to learn more beyond just your college. Finally, enjoy it. Everybody says college is the best years of your life, and that may or may not be true for you, but there's definitely some amazing parts that you can experience if you want to. All right, overall, these are some of my grad pictures. I would like to point out that was my brother's dog, Kiwi, and he emotionally got me through my senior year of college. So yay, Kiwi. I made some really great friends and connections in college, people that are going to stick with me for a long time in my life, and that mean a lot to me, so I will always be thankful for that. And college really helped me explore what I enjoyed, what's important to me, my priorities, kind of taught me about myself. So having that separation from home, that independence, that desire to pursue your own passion, that all really helps you become a better person and know more about yourself. So I hope you all enjoy whatever you do for the rest of your life. Yay!
I do want to yeah. I have a question that,
Okay, that's a great question. So this is all during COVID. I got some of my college credits from APs. So I took AP Lang, AP Chem, AP Calc, and AP French. And to be honest, I wouldn't have taken half those classes if COVID didn't happen, because I was supposed to take a lot of like fun art classes my senior year, but there was no in-person classes and I wasn't going to take art classes that I couldn't physically do in person. So to get those college credits, I decided to take AP classes instead, because I don't really know why I decided to challenge myself that hard my senior year of high school, but it worked out in the end because I didn't have to take them in college. And then I took Bio 1 and 2 at RBCC over the summer before my senior year of high school. And I believe my mom suggested I do that. So she was very right. Because at Virginia Tech, those core classes are terrible. I'm going to be very honest with you. People fail chem a lot at Virginia Tech and calculus. They're not fun classes to take at a really large university. So you can get them out of the way. You clear up the space to take major-based classes at the beginning the freshman year. Okay, what other questions were there? Okay, yeah. Where did I take my college courses? RBCC. Who taught the AP classes? My high school? I don't remember my teachers from high school. The thing with my AP classes, though, is that for Chem and Calc, I took honors Chem and Calc junior year and thought I was going to end there in COVID. So I would say actually taking the honors and then the AP was much easier than going straight to AP. I went to Huntington Central Regional High School. So that is where I went to high school, and that's where I took my AP classes. My chem teacher really wanted me to come into school, and I refused because I didn't feel like going back to person. Any other questions? Yes, it was. Huntington Central is a public high school. I yes. Okay. Any questions from you guys about conservation or college or how it relates to agriculture?
what are you doing now?
It's a great question. I was going to take the summer and do nothing. I was going to say, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to give myself time to relax. And then I took on 4 part-time jobs. So they're all almost 4-H jobs. So I work for Somerset County 4-H, Morris County 4-H, and State 4-H, and then I pet sit on the side. So none of them are wildlife based, and that's totally fine. I'm okay with that. I just did things that I enjoyed this summer, but I'm looking for positions that are research based. So I really like animal behavior research, and I really want to expand the amount of species I've worked with. I think in the future, at some point, I would like to go to grad school, but for conservation, you usually specify to a very specific species and type of research with your species when you do conservation research and grad school. And I'm not at the point where I can say, I want to work with just this one animal. So I want to take this time to explore what other types of research, maybe work internationally if possible, because there's some really cool conservation projects outside of America, and just take a few years to explore what I like. So currently don't have a wildlife job, but that's okay. I'm not stressed about it. I have jobs. Where did I do the research with the white-tailed deer? Great question. My first white-tailed deer research was in Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech is. The Virginia Department of Wildlife and Environment, or yeah, Virginia Department of Wildlife is right next to our school. So they do a lot of programming with us. My summer job was in Southern Illinois through the Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. So that was kind of middle of nowhere, Illinois. And then my final white-tailed deer job was on South Bass Island on Lake Erie in Ohio. So you can kind of do deer work anywhere. And my parents made fun of me because I went all the way to Illinois to do deer work. And we live in New Jersey with an overpopulation of white-tailed deer, which is a fair statement to make. Did I like Virginia Tech? Would I recommend it? I did. Virginia Tech is one of the top natural resource programs in the country. So if you are looking for something in conservation, in natural resources, in environmental science, it's a great school. And I know its engineering program is also great, and it's got a lot of other good programs. Like every other college, it's got its goods and its bads. But I really love the location of Virginia Tech. Blacksburg, Virginia is in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains, and it's a beautiful spot to hike, to be outside. And I really liked that aspect. I didn't want to be in a big city, but I wanted to have enough amenities around me where I wasn't stuck at school. And I felt like Blacksburg really fit all those categories. Anybody else? How many of you are about to go to like end of high school? Is it college application time over? No, it's not. When does it end?
Opens August 1st.
Oh, I was very off. I was like, is it over? Okay. So how are you feeling about your college application process?
Nervous.
Valid. It's stressful. I'm not gonna lie, especially because it's all kind of the same after a while. But as long as you've got like a solid couple of schools that you're like, yes, I would feel happy going here, they'll be good. I was not the type to apply to I know people who applied to about 50 schools, and that was not for me. That was a lot of energy. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, our next speaker is Katie Shefflin. She's a recent graduate from Iowa State University, where she earned a degree in animal science with minors in genetics and international agriculture. This fall, she will begin her graduate studies at University of Georgia, focusing on animal breeding and genetics. She has served as both a teaching assistant and a peer mentor, supporting undergraduate education and fostering student engagement in the sciences. Her leadership experience includes active roles in student organizations, participation in a study abroad program in Greece. Ooh, I'm a little jealous. And demonstrated commitment to advancing animal health and agriculture science and global food systems. Known for her adaptability, attention to detail, and collaborative approach, Katie is passionate about animals, science, and inspiring others through her work. Here is Katie.
Yeah,
Yeah, can I make it bigger? Yeah, just a chair. Like, so it's in, like this, I guess. Yeah. Just make it so it's there.
Okay, so I guess I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Katie Shefflin. And kind of just like a breakdown of my presentation. I'll introduce myself and then my college application process and then my college experience and where I'll be going after college. So a little bit about me. Obviously, my name is Katie. I grew up in Hillsborough, New Jersey. I was in the 4-H club, the New Center Dairy. I also was in the dairy and beef prep club before I started like or like clover buds now is what it's called. But and I would say my favorite 4-H memory was the National 4-H Dairy Conference. And I know not all of you guys are like in like New Center Dairy, but just a little bit about this conference. There was a lot of different guest speakers that were in the industry, and it took place in Madison, Wisconsin, which is where the University of Madison is. So part of the conference was having like university workshops, which would reflect like a lab that you would have at the university. So one of them was like a lactation lab. So you were sitting in one of their like lab classrooms and you were like dissecting an udder and stuff, and it was trying to like simulate what it would be like if you were taking like a college course. We also went on a lot of the camera here and talk into it instead of that. Okay. All right. And there are also a lot of different field trips. So we went to a lot of like major farms and different like facilities that they had there, like ABS Global, and then we went to the World Dairy Expo. And it was a really great experience because you were able to network. And you were like, this is where I really figured out what I wanted to study in college. So like just some advice for finding the right school. I would say to keep an open mind and think about the best fit for you. Do your research and try to visit campuses when you have the time. Like figure out what majors and minors that school offers, and then think about like, do they have what you want to study? And then start creating a list with the schools and maybe some details, like if you go on a visit, like how you felt during the visit, and just like starting to explore early. My parents had like me go on all my brother's college visits with him. He's only a year older than me, but it was really nice because I was able to start seeing kind of like what schools I liked and what type of environment I wanted to be in, because there's so many different types of universities that you can go to, like ones that are in a city or one that like is in like Iowa State is where I went, and it's in more of like a rural area. So you can kind of get like a bigger picture of what type of school environment you think would be the best fit for you. For my application process, I started to research schools that had the top agricultural programs, and then I made a list with all the schools that I found the most interesting. I think it started maybe at like 20 or 30 schools. And then I started to like narrow down a little bit, like, oh, I don't think this is a school that would be a good fit for me. And then I started to tour colleges that were on my list. Like an example would be I toured Louisiana State University, LSU, and I realized that it wasn't a school that I saw myself at. So I kind of like was able, you can kind of like feel it when you're touring campuses. Oh, like I don't think I would be a good fit here. So I was able to kind of like continue to narrow down my list based on like that, the location, the price, and then like the personal fit as well. And then finally, like my last part of my process was my dad and I took a trip out to the Midwest where I visited the University of Wisconsin in Madison. We also toured the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities, which is like the Minneapolis area. Then we toured Michigan State University and Iowa State University. And Iowa State University wasn't actually the school I wanted to go to. I wanted to go to Wisconsin, but it was also kind of during COVID, and that made a big impact on my decision because when you're studying science, you don't really want to be like sitting in your dorm room, not able to apply what you're learning. So I took that as like into consideration as well when I was choosing what school I wanted to go to. And then I was able to decide that I wanted to go to Iowa State. I majored in animal science, and then I came in with a minor in genetics, and then in my first semester at school, my professor recommended getting a minor in international agriculture because for at our school you could have classes that overlap and fulfill multiple requirements. So it was not like you were going to be adding extra time by adding a minor, and having minors is a great way to explore things that you might want to just like get more information about. So like with genetics, like you're not just fully immersed in genetics all the time, but you're getting kind of like a little snippet, and you're able to put it into perspective with like if you study something like animal science, and you can make connections and still learn about like other things while you have like your major coursework. So just a little bit about my work experiences that I had in college. I had paid and unpaid, and I also had internships. So some of my paid work experiences were I worked at the Iowa State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab in the molecular division. So there they did a lot of like sample processing for different diseases. So like they tested for stuff like PRRS or like avian influenza, and we like as student workers, we were the ones who kind of like took the samples that were sent in and put them into like the test tubes and like got them ready to be tested. And then so I did a lot of work there with sample processing. And then I worked in something called the Swine Applied Innovation Lab, which was also known as SAIL, and it was research based. So here what my job was like, it was a computer software that they were trying to develop an AI software to be able to count how many piglets were in a picture. And this was to help with like advanced nutrition in pigs. And my job was to help kind of contribute to the development of that AI software. So I would sit on a computer and label images of piglets so that it could kind of like create a software that could do it without like the need of a person to do it manually. And then finally, I worked as a animal science peer mentor. And in our school, a peer mentor was an older member in animal science who you like had a classroom, like you had a group of students, and it was your job to kind of prepare them in terms of like career and just being at school. It was for freshmen. So it was like their first semester at Iowa State, and you kind of helped them with like creating their resume or creating cover letter and like how to prepare for the career fair and just like a bunch of different things. Like you were kind of there as like a guide for them. So that was another one of my jobs. And then I had also a lot of unpaid work experiences. At our school, you could be a teaching assistant. So I was a teaching assistant for the domestic animal anatomy and physiology lab. And basically like your job was to guide students through different dissections of animals. So part of our curriculum was you had to take this lab and you did different dissections every week in lab. And if you were the teaching assistant, like you would quiz all the students. And I found this very beneficial because you get credit and then you're also continuing to like apply your knowledge that you're learning in school. So that was a really great experience. And then I was also in the honors program at my college. So I was a first year honors program leader, which is kind of similar to like being a peer mentor, but instead of just animal science students, it was for anyone that was a freshman that was in the honors program. So you get another small group of students and you kind of get them acclimated to the campus and just help them with things like creating a 4-year plan. And then when I was in college, I also was in a sorority. So when I was in the sorority, I was on the executive council. I was the vice president of philanthropy, and that's your job is to kind of put on different events to help raise money for a particular philanthropy or like like a cause. So ours was fighting hunger, and it was my job to I put on events for like 400 people, and you sell tickets, and then all the money that you raise after you pay off your expenses goes to like a different like a foundation. So that was my job. And then I also was our community service chair. So I would organize all the community service events for our sorority for the year. And then I also had some internships. Last summer, I interned at a biotechnical manufacturing company in Lebanon, New Jersey. And then this summer, I'm one of the summer interns here at the Somerset County 4-H Association. And just some advice, because I think like when people hear animal science, they don't really think like, oh, biotechnical manufacturing, that's something that's like very different and doesn't really seem like it would be related to animal science. But my advice is just to be like open to getting like different types of jobs or like getting involved in different fields, because you're going to meet people in those fields who can help you get other jobs and letters of recommendation. So like my biotechnical manufacturing like internship, they created different products that were used to degrade DNA, and they were actually bought by the vet lab at Iowa State. So I was able to get a job because my boss knew someone at the vet lab, and he reached out to them. He was like, I have a really great student who like is willing to work, and I was able to get a job just through the connections that I made at my internship. And it's also really beneficial because then if you're doing something like going to graduate school where you need letters of recommendation, you can have people like this write them. So now just a little bit about funding college, because I know that this is something that plays a big part in like where you go or just like sometimes like your experience. Scholarships is a huge, like it's a very important thing to like look out for and to like utilize. It's a great tool. You can get things like university funding. So Iowa State has like a online scholarship application, and they have two of them. They have one that's for the entire like university, and then they have one for the College of Ag. So they like you automatically get considered for some of these, and then it's just a way to basically get like free money. And then they also offered academic scholarships based on your high school GPA, which like you guys will get like once you start applying to schools and getting your acceptance letters, they'll give you like a financial aid package. So sometimes they'll do stuff like this where they'll like tell you like, oh, because of your high school GPA, we can give you this amount of money for the next 4 years. Yeah, so those are also pretty important. And then also like something that you can consider is like a university job. It's a great way to meet people and to make more connections. Like a lot of the jobs I had, I ended up using a lot of my bosses for like letters of recommendations or to get other jobs. So it's a way to like have some money in your pocket and like meet new people and have new experiences. And I also just wanted to highlight that there are a lot of scholarships through 4-H that you can get. There's like the Somerset County 4-H Association scholarship when you just, I think, write like an essay and apply for it. And then there's like the Rob Fellows scholarship. But yeah, and then just a little bit more about opportunities, because you guys can start doing this like at any time, because I think some of them are for high school students as well. You guys can literally just look up like, oh, like what are some animal science scholarships? And then it'll come up like, and it'll, I don't know if you guys can see, I don't think you can see my mouse, but it'll give you a bunch of different ones that you can apply for. And I would just research opportunities online to see which ones that like you guys may be eligible for. One example is I applied for the Farm Credit East Scholarship, which was something that was in like a Farm Bureau, the NJ Farm Bureau newsletter. And I applied for it, and the only thing you had to do was write like what you're gonna do, like in terms of a career in agriculture. And then they choose like 10 or 15 kids like to get it. And it's just like just apply for whatever you can. And even if you don't get it, at least you know you tried. And like if you you have a better chance of getting more money, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then just to highlight some key courses that I took in school, at our school and many others, you guys can go on the website and you can search up like what major you're looking at, and it'll give you a breakdown of all the courses that you need to take in order to get a degree in that particular major. At Iowa State, you can also do this for your minors, and you can see like what classes you have to take. And we are allowed to overlap classes. So some of the classes that you're already taking for your major would fit into your minor requirements, which is really nice. So just a little bit of a breakdown. With an animal science degree, you have to take electives, which are just like random courses. Like I took like a music course, which fits like the electives. You have to take a communications course, which is kind of like English. And sometimes you can get like high school credit for it, but sometimes it's just like another course you have to take. So you have to take some math courses and then some like biology and like chemistry classes. We also had a business requirement, and then we had our animal science core, which were like the animal science classes you have to take. Some of those included like domestic animal reproduction. So you learn all about like the different like reproductive like systems and just like how different species differ. And that was a very interesting course. Or like animal nutrition, where you're basically learning about like just different like because you're learning about not like the different systems, but because you have like animals that have like ruminants or like just a single stomach, so you're learning about the different processes in those animals and kind of how it all goes together. Or like a feeding class where you're learning like how to formulate a feed ration, which is it's really interesting. Or you have to do classes where you're doing like genetic improvement of domestic animals. Some of these classes are the same throughout different universities, which I'll get into a little later. But yeah, and then you also have like your intro level courses, and then you get to your general animal science where you're allowed to pick. So for us, we had to pick 3 200 level courses, and these are all the different species. So I took dairy, beef, and swine. And basically what you do is you go to the farm every single week and you're learning about the different production practices in like a wider scope. And then you'll have like labs that you have to do, or like you're learning about just all the basics and then more. And then you're like applying yourself in the labs. And then as you're going farther up through the levels, like our very end, like you have a senior project. So I did the 400 level beef class, and we had to create a beef production plan. And you're basically creating your own beef operation, and you're going through all the finances, and you're basically learning how to run and manage your own operation, which is really, really cool. Now I'm going to talk just a little bit about study abroad. at many different like schools and Iowa State, there's like a different study abroad opportunity for everyone. They range in like length, time, and then the location as well. And you can do it like with your friends or you can make friends while you're traveling. And at Iowa State, like they have a whole website for study abroad where you can like look at all the different programs they have. And it's not like just limited to like, oh, like you're a senior, like some of them are like, oh, you're a senior, like you can go to it, but some of them are for everyone, which is really nice. So you can go like your freshman year or something. But I studied at the American Farm School in Greece. It's in Thessaloniki, which is like the next major city other than Athens. And here they offer study abroad opportunities as well as internship opportunities. So with the internship opportunities, you basically are like working on their different farms and you're doing that in exchange for like free room and board. And the only thing you have to do is like pay for your plane ticket. So they have like a dairy farm. I think they have a chicken farm, and then they do stuff with olive cultivation because that's a big part of like the agriculture in Greece. And there's also a lot of scholarships that are available, not just through universities, but like organizations as well. And then the price will vary depending on the length or the type of program you're in. So obviously, like if you're in a program that's only a week long, like over a break, it's going to be a lot cheaper. But there's like definitely ways to finance it. And like if you guys want to study abroad, you could utilize an opportunity like doing an internship because it's much cheaper than like just paying to study abroad. Um, so a little bit about my experience. When I went, we took a Greek culture class and we went on a lot of field trips, which is the picture on the left. It's just the entire group of students that were there. And there were students from all over the United States. And then at the very end, we had a student join us who was from France, but it was from just like universities that were everywhere. So I made a lot of friends, like people from like Texas and like Louisiana. There were some people from like New York and just like Virginia Tech was another one that had a lot of students that were there. So it was really cool to kind of be able to like meet people that were just from all over the United States studying different things. Yeah. And then another trip we went on was like a 3-day sailing trip and we went to like all the different Mamma Mia islands and we spent a night in every single island and we kind of got to like learn about the history and just like you're just like boating for 3 days. So that was a fun trip that we went on. And then just a few more pictures. These are some of my friends that I met while I was there. And then the middle picture is the sunset in Santorini. I took a wine business class there, so we went on a field trip because Santorini is a major like wine. They have major wineries. So we went there to kind of learn about the history. And then the final picture I have is the Acropolis, which is in Athens. And we went on like an entire group field trip to learn about the history of Athens, which was really, really cool. And this was like directed by like they had a program director, so we weren't like on our own. So it's kind of nice because like you're still being guided and you're not just like being thrown out there. But yeah. And then something that I really wanted to highlight that was very important in influencing what I was doing after college was National Student Exchange, which is not something that a lot of people hear about, but it was something that was very important for me to do. And basically what it is it allows you to spend like a semester or even two at another university, like within the United States. And it's a much cheaper option and you can even get the entire cost of your tuition covered. It's a great way to travel locally and you can explore new opportunities such as vet school for anyone who's looking to go into vet school or even graduate school. So it's like a exchange program that you can do with different campuses anywhere in the United States as long as they're like part of it. So I kind of like included a list so you guys can see just like the magnitude of it. And you can do the program like with yourself or with your friends. And a very popular one that a lot of people do is like the University of Hawaii. But you guys can go like it's like I went to Georgia, which I'll talk about after this, but it was really nice because what they do is they can give you in-state tuition at particular universities and then you get all your scholarship money that you have for your university put onto that. So like I went to school for free for a semester and all I did was pay for rent. And it's something that like not a lot of people hear about, but it's something that I thought was really beneficial because you're kind of able to create new connections and experience new things without like completely transferring to another university or like breaking the bank trying to afford like studying abroad. So just a little bit about my experience. The picture on the left is a dog that I was training in a shelter for one of my classes. His name is Tank, and I took an animal behavior and cognition class, and the final project was to train an animal a new command, but because I was in Georgia, I didn't have any of like my animals there. So I went to a local shelter and I trained one of their animals so that he could become more adoptable, like because he knew training commands. So that was for a class I did there. And then the picture in the middle, there was a new school joining the SEC, which is the conference that Georgia is in. And they were doing like a welcome tour throughout all of the colleges. And we were able to kind of like, we saw their mascot and we're taking pictures with them. And then they have a really nice downtown area. So this is just a concert that my friend and I went to. It was only like $17. So it was really nice. But yeah, and then some more pictures. They have a college night at their church, though. They had like Maddie Pruitt. If anyone of you guys watched The Bachelor, she was there talking. She was talking about her college experience. And then I included a picture of all of my roommates that I lived with when I was in Georgia. They were all in the same sorority that I was in, but just the chapter for the University of Georgia instead of Iowa State. And then I included another picture of their house because they just got it redone and it's like a iconic room that they have there. And then just for like my future plans, I graduated in May and I applied for graduate school the November before I graduated, and then I got in January. So I'll be going to the University of Georgia for animal breeding and genetics. It's in Athens. And I was able to do this because when I was doing national student exchange, I had a professor for the genetic improvement of livestock class I took. And he said, if you do well in my class, like you guys can apply, like you can work under me as a graduate student. So I applied and I got hired by them and they're paying me to go to graduate school. So I'm going for free. And they're paying me a stipend. So yeah. And then I just included some like different career opportunities or like options because I think a lot of people hear like, oh, you're studying animal science, like you're going to like, do you want to be a vet? And like there's just so many more opportunities that are out there that some people don't always realize. And I just like I put like you could be like a kennel owner, like a nutritionist, or like a farm manager, or even like a sales rep or a dog trainer, or like a breeder or livestock buyer. Um, but yeah. And then I guess just like some advice that I would give you guys is like just have fun and like put yourself out there as much as you can and just try new things because like I feel like college is where you really learn about yourself and like you're not going to be able to like the more you do like the more you'll realize like oh I don't like this or I do like this. Like I took the swine class and I was like okay like I don't want to work with pigs in the future, but like if I didn't take that class like I wouldn't have known. And then like doing opportunities like national student exchange, like if I didn't go to Georgia I wouldn't be going back there to get my master's and then my PhD. So like it's just really important to put yourself out there and just try new things, and even if it doesn't work out like at least you tried. And then just making connections is really important as well. But yeah, that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions? I don't know actually. I like left because I did it in May, or like my project was due in May and then I went back home. But he was like a 6 months old American a pit bull terrier mix. So yeah. All right. Well, like in the future, if any of you guys have questions, even with like graduate school and stuff or anything, I don't know. I guess I can put my email somewhere. And if you guys ever just have any questions, you guys can shoot me an email or anything. But yeah, thank you guys.
With our third guest speaker. Lacey Lamberson is a proud 4-H alumni who grew up actively involved in 4-H. She continues to give back by volunteering wherever possible and currently serves in several 4-H committees. She's a recent graduate of Raritan Valley Community College, and Lacey will be attending Delaware Valley University in the fall to further her education. She is currently employed by Catholic Charities, where she works in both their aftercare and camp programs. Lacey brings her passion for 4-H and poultry science to everything she does and aiming to share many benefits of the 4-H program with others. I'm going to find her presentation very quick.
Hey guys, my name's Lacey. So yeah, let's get started. So this is a little about me, just a couple pictures kind of throughout my 4-H history and then a couple other ones of stuff I've done after college. So, stuff I've done after college. This way? Oh, sorry, I'm short, guys. Sorry. Yeah, a couple things I've done and also like stuff I've done in 4-H. So, because I don't have many pictures of me at college. So it's just kind of table contents what we're gonna go over today. So yeah, so the first one's the application process. So how I chose what to apply for, I really wasn't gonna go to college at first. Like I didn't want to. I had no desire to. And then, I talked to a few people and decided like I'll at least go to community college. So I chose Raritan Valley. It's closest in my area and it's a really top rated community college too. Um, so yeah, that's why I chose where I wanted to go. And then as per transferring, I didn't really know where I wanted to go because I also didn't know what I wanted to exactly do in college. And, I asked friends around and that's how I heard about Del Val from Michael, which I didn't even know about. So he showed me and it's kind of how like I applied. He talked to me about it a little bit, but we'll get more into that in other slides. So one thing I also was apply for financial aid or FAFSA, and I also filled out scholarships. So as you mentioned, 4-H has a bunch. I got a couple. I got 3, I think, the year I applied. But there's a bunch on there that you can do. I know the year, I think it was my year, the other year, one girl got all of them, like all of them. Her name was on basically all of them. So just do it. Also, I suggest you like look at your like high school. I know at Hillsborough there was a guidance counselor that had a list of scholarships. So look at that too, because you may be able to do those. And then fill out FAFSA, regardless if you think you're gonna get anything, because you never know. Luckily for me, RV was completely paid for. I didn't have to pay for anything. Um, and just an FYI about that too, if you do get it covered for, you have to pass your classes. If you fail, they will take away your aid and you cannot get it back. So make sure you're passing your classes as well for that. And then recommendation letters. I always tend to find that you should know who you want to do, whether you have a really good teacher you're buddy with, family friend, boss that you work with, coworker, anybody, supervisor. I suggest you know because you want to get somebody that knows you and not somebody that doesn't know you. Because say you have to put one in for like a scholarship and they don't really know what to write about you, your chances of getting it may not. That may be your like make or break for that, especially for colleges too. So major and courses. So I was environmental science major. They didn't have agriculture at Raritan Valley, so I went with this because it most in line. Mine's in math and science, not in the liberal arts. So some of my favorite courses I took and most challenging ones, was some of my favorites were bio 1 and 2. I liked biology in high school, so I was excited to take it, but we did some more advanced stuff, which was really cool. We talked about genetics and DNA, bio 1, which was great. I loved that. And then bio 2, we did a whole lab, which I'll talk more about on testing a water source that we got to pick. That was really cool. As well. And then we also learned about like evolution in bio 2, which wasn't my cup of tea, but it was really cool to learn about. And then the other class was plants, humans, and the environment. That was really cool. It brought in all these things and how they all connected, like how plants, humans, and the environment
Okay, so those are some of my favorite classes, and then some of my most challenging classes, I'm going to say, ones that maybe hated, were chemistry 1 and 2. I took chem in high school, it was hard, and then like doing it in college was definitely hard as well. Um, they were cool, the labs were great, loved doing the labs. When it came to work and some of the tests, definitely depending on what teacher you have, it was quite difficult. So it was definitely challenging for me personally, and it was very challenging. And then pre-calculus 1, so I had to take 1 and 2. So 1 for me was more challenging than 2. I mean, it was just math. I've never gone above algebra 2, so this was like a more tough math class I had to take. It was a little harder. And then stats. The one thing I will say that can kind of fall into advice, get a good stats teacher that can teach the course. If they cannot teach, it is rough. I heard that from a math major. Amazing at math, tutors me, took a stat class, had a bad teacher. He struggled, man. Oh, it's stopping.
You can keep talking.
Okay, he struggled. That's why I say get a good stats teacher. And then skills I gained from the classes, were collaborations. Anything in the STEM field, you're doing a lot of group work. So I did a lot of group work, so I learned a lot working with different people and how they work. It was really fun. Networking and resumes, building, couple of my classes did that, so it taught us like, build an Indeed profile, do stuff like that, and it actually helped me with my resume. I haven't updated my resume since like junior year of high school, so to see how it's really supposed to look was really cool, and they helped me do that. And time management, I know you'll hear that a couple times in my presentation, that's a big one. Especially if you struggled with it in high school, try to get it together for college, because that was a big one. That was kind of like, boom, you really need to know how to do this or work on it. And then courses that helped me figure out what I did and didn't want to do. So I took 2 courses, Foundations of Environmental Success and Environmental Capstone. They were both classes that had a lot of environmental aspects to it, but also did a lot of networking and resume building. So it would help you kind of look for stuff in your field, mainly environmental science, so there's some cool stuff in there. But it also helped me figure out there was stuff I didn't want to do. Like both of my teachers did stuff in the environmental field. The one did stuff a lot in government. She actually went across to like other nations and helped them do water stuff. It was cool, but it wasn't what I would want to do. And then the other one did sustainable building. He would go in for companies and help them make their building more sustainable, which was cool. But yeah, so those are 2 classes that really helped me, and you'll find out classes like that will help you figure out what you do and don't want to do with your major. So yeah, that was really cool. And then research. So some of the research stuff I did was, we had to, I'll do 2 examples. In one class, we had to find a water source and do a bunch of testing like pH, nitrates, how much solution, or not solution, how much like stuff was in the water. Like we put in this oven and then you were left with stuff and you had to like weigh it. It was really cool. So that picture down there of the river, that is Kent Lockwood Gorge. That's where we picked as our area. Very clean water, by the way. That's why there's fish in it. So that was really cool. Plus we got to research a little bit about our area. So little fun fact, he's the reason why trout is stocked across all of New Jersey. He figured that out, that was like, it's important to stock trout. So yeah, that was cool. Another one we did was we had to either find a building and make it sustainable, like the way that they can refurbish their building, make it sustainable, or create a sustainable building. So our group created a nature center that was sustainable, but we took in Raritan Valley's area and how they have a preschool program, so that we kind of made the nature building where the preschoolers can come in and the college kids can come in and all learn in that building and learn from it. So that's what we did. The methods we used was like, lab testing, stuff like that, doing LEED checklists, which is like tells you how sustainable your building is. You get different like gold, silver, platinum. That was cool to learn about. And then timelines. So some of them were longer, whole semester timelines. Some of them were like 2 weeks. You got to figure it out, make a presentation, which was fun. So time management, again, you'll figure it out. And then skills and tools. I learned how to use like Excel and a lot of Microsoft stuff that I didn't know how to use because I'm used to Google. So that was cool. You'll learn how to do that, and you'll learn how to use like the different lab equipment, which was stuff that was cool. And then how it influenced my academic career. It actually made me realize that I want to go further in my schooling. Personally, I want to get like a master's now in Sophia. I'm not sure, but I know I want to get a master's. Then also made me want to teach. Those two teachers that did environmental capstone and the other class, I loved how they implemented what they did for work towards students, like saying, hey, I did this and I did it for years and now I'm teaching and you could do the same thing. So it's kind of something I want to do too, so I may go back for schooling. And then these are a bunch of career options. Oh, okay, there we go. This is a bunch of career options. You guys can read them. So there's a bunch in science, conservation, industry, corporate, and then government. There's a whole bunch that you can do however you may like. But yeah, so I thought these were kind of cool. So you guys can look at that. And then how's my college experience been so far? So since I go to community college, I'm balancing work and school life, which time management, yeah, that's crazy. There's a bunch of times I've done homework at school or at work, and it's a lot, especially when you get up to those higher level science classes. And then getting burnt out and overwhelmed. I dealt with that my first year of college, definitely. And into the second year, I just found out that personally for me, if I got all my stuff done before Thursday or on Thursday and had the weekend to myself to recharge, hang out with friends, because it's hard to say no to your friends when you're like, oh, we're all going out, you know, because you have those friends that don't go to college or aren't taking as hard of a major as you or don't have as much work, not as much classes. Say no, learn to say no. I have to say that. I know it sounds mean, but yeah, that was a big one for me too. And then also planners and apps. That's just advice. I've used planners in the past. I know my friends that use app that have used apps, specifically Canvas. A lot of colleges will use Canvas, if not all. I'm not too sure, but that will kind of tell you and it'll give you a notification, hey, this is due like 2 days in advance, or it will kind of give you that. So that was really good. And then support systems. That really helped me too. So whether it was going to the tutoring center, counseling, family, friends, make sure you kind of have a support center that you can go to. Like, don't be afraid either. It's not a scary thing. And then adjusting was hard as well, because you're kind of like doing a bunch of classes in like span of like 3 or 4 months, and you don't have the whole year like high school. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit more fast paced than high school, which you may like. I liked it a lot because it was like, all right, 3 months of school, you're done, and then we had like a month worth of break, which was really cool. That get to know your campus life, like what's going on your campus and go to it. Like there's a lot of free food events that happened at RB, so I would go to them. It was a lot of fun. You sat, they had music, people. It was really cool. So do that because it's also just makes the experience fun. You're not just driving back and forth from school. Like, there's nothing to do because there definitely is stuff to do. There's clubs. There was a bunch of clubs at Raritan Valley. There's also an honors program too. So if you're one of the kids that love taking honors classes, there's a really great honors program there. And then academic highs and lows, you're gonna have those semesters that are going to be the worst semesters of your life and you're like, I want to quit. Just don't. Next semester comes up, you're basically starting new. You're gonna have them and it's okay. That's why I always say support systems, go to somebody if you are really struggling, teachers, whoever. It's gonna happen. So just be prepared. And then transferring. So I'm transferring. So credits, if you are going to be doing that and want to know, I think the website is called njtransfer.com and it will let you know what ones will transfer over to your college or your program. That was very helpful for me. Also, I was very lucky that all my credits transferred, like all of them, and there wasn't anything that was like basically I'm starting off in my junior year pretty good, not too packed with classes because I do only have 2 years left. You don't have to finish in 2 years. Don't think that either. I thought that, and they're like, no, if you have to finish a little later, that's fine as well. But I always suggest trying to get as much as you can. So your last 2 years are kind of like a breeze. They're not like, oh my God, I got 6 classes one semester. Like you can be like, oh, I could take 4 classes a semester. And you're kind of chilling. So yeah, that's good. And then rooming, I'm not personally rooming. I couldn't afford it this semester. So I'm looking to save money and room next semester or next year, depending on my senior year. And then how and I chose and why I chose to go to where I want to go. Again, like I said, my friend Michael told me about it. I looked into it a little more online once he told me. I enjoyed that the classes were like 25 to 30 people, small classes, no big lecture halls. I'm not good at that. And the campus was quite small. There wasn't like, you gotta walk like so far to get to another class. It's also a really cute, cool historical campus as well. So yeah, tour your campuses as well. I toured mine I think in this summer I toured mine. They have an event called A-Day, which when Michael presents, he'll tell you about that. I toured then and I walked around, which was a really good opportunity too. But yeah, you kind of want to get like a campus that's nice as well, not like what you like for you. So yeah. And then advice for new students, stay organized. Because when you're organized, stuff gets done and you're not like bombarded with a bunch of stuff at the end of the semester. Please utilize the campus resources, whether it's counseling, academic advisors, tutoring, writing centers. Use them. They're free to you. They're free. Just use them. Seriously. They were very helpful. Also go to office hours and get to know your professors. That's the one thing when you got to know them and you kind of have like a relationship with them. If you're struggling in a class and kind of failing, they're more likely to give you extra credit on the assignment and say, hey, fill this out, I'll give you 10 points, or, curve your grades a little bit on tests, give you extra points than they would other kids, to help you pass. And it's also just an easier way that if you do need to seek help from them, that you're not like afraid because you know who they are, you've made friends, you've talked to them. And then a couple of other things in here I didn't put, ratemyprofessor.com. I'm telling you right now, look on that because that for me was like, it was a dream. It's basically a website where other college students go in and comment about professors in certain categories. So though like professors that have really good scores are ones that kids like to take that are normally easy graders or however, they're really nice, easy to talk to, stuff like that. Really use that. I'm telling you that right now, use it. I've gotten some of my favorite professors from there that I'm still friends with now that email me to catch up and stuff like that. But yeah, just make friends with your professor too, because you want to know how they work. Some of them are very much by the rule book and won't give you extra stuff, but other ones aren't. So you kind of want to know how you can like work with them as well. So yeah, that is my advice. And then packing tips. So I got these from my friends that are in like dorming because I don't dorm. So I asked them for some help. So a lot of them said, watch YouTube videos. A lot of them said they watched YouTube videos or look stuff up on TikTok, Instagram, all those to figure out what other people were saying. They said command hooks were great. They may or may not take off the paint. I don't know. So those were pretty good. People liked command hooks. I think those and all those hooks, they like to put up decorations if you wanted to. They really enjoyed that. They also said look at the website for college do's or don'ts. So what you can and cannot bring, because they said they brought stuff that they didn't realize that they couldn't until they were like, oh, I should have read the website of like what to bring. And then a lot of portable bathroom organizers. I had friends who were really far away from the communal bathrooms and said like bring something that was super easy to like go back and forth and not have to like hold on in your hands was good. And then seasonal clothes. I had a couple friends that didn't go to school where they could drive home and they had to go out and buy clothes and they said it was really, especially like if you're somewhere in Florida, you probably won't need, a bunch of jeans and stuff, but you may, I don't know. And then cleaning supplies. People get sick. That's one thing I heard. People get sick and it's gross and you gotta clean. That is what I heard. And then Advil was a big one. I also heard from people, painkillers, like I heard. But yeah. And then my future plans. Okay, it's switched. So I'm done with RV. I'll be going to Delta when I graduate. I personally want to own a farm and farm. That's kind of what I want to do. Be able to go outside and look at a cow and be like, oh my God, there's cows in my backyard. I love animals, so that's what I want to do, and then I want to go back to school and I want to teach agriculture, whether it's I still decide between high school and being a professor. Pay grade's a little different, but you know, either way, I'm happy to do it. So yeah, that's basically it. Don't mind the pepper. My friend put that on there. I forgot to take it off. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Oh, and one other thing, don't let anybody tell you community college is stupid. Don't let them. I had a lot of people say mean stuff to me because I was going, don't. Literally don't. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys.
I went to community college for free. Now I have my master's, so you're right. You say.
Yeah, so I have a.
Alrighty, we are going to move forward with our last but certainly not least.
Because I'm at home.
Last guest speaker. Just gonna share.
Okay, well,
Right, share.
Well, that's also why I got
Also-
take it for 92.
yeah. I'm like excited about.
Alrighty, Michael Powell has been involved with Somerset County 4-H for 15 years. He was involved in rancher beef, dairy, and livestock for his entire 4-H career, as well as exchange and scale modelers. Currently, he is going into his junior year at Delaware Valley University, where he is majoring in livestock science and management and minoring in dairy science. He works for New Jersey Farm Bureau and serves as the secretary for Somerset County Board of Agriculture. So please welcome Mike.
Gonna set up the slideshow is. There we go. Hi, my name is Mike, Delaware Valley class of 2027, and this is the Ag College experience. I will just say this right off the bat, I'm very biased about Del Val. If you didn't see me the whole time, I was doing our symbol in the background and stuff. So who am I?
Mike, just make sure you stand by the podium. You might be too tall. You might want to move the camera back. Yeah.
Okay, so who am I? I'm a multi-generational farmer. My family owns Dutch Olive Farm right over there in Bridgewater on the other side of 202 and 28. We've had that farm since 1765, so agriculture has been going on in my family for quite literally forever. As we said, I'm studying livestock management with a minor in dairy science, and I am a member, dairy science. It's a fun major, trust me. And I'm a member of, and these are, for the most part, these are all organizations that are all available at a lot of universities, so that's why I list them. I'm a member of Dairy Challenge, Flock and Bridle, Collegiate Cattlemen's Association, the Drama Club, 8A Committee, and the Collegiate Farm Bureau. And I'm also, as we said, the Secretary of Somerset County Board of Agriculture. And I say all this because who you are is going to determine where you're going to go to college. You know, obviously, if you don't have that ag experience like I do, or you don't have an interest in agriculture, then you don't need to listen to the rest of this. But if you do, it's going to be a fun ride. So choosing your college, that's what this next slide says, promise me, I promise. So when I was choosing about going to Del Val, there we go, about going to Del Val, I was between, I think it was 4 different universities. Obviously Delaware Valley University was pretty high up for me because my mom works there, so I get really nice tuition break because of that. I'll be upfront because that's one of my recommendations for this section. You'll see. Also Centenary University, Monmouth University, and Gettysburg College. Depending on what university I went to, was going to choose my major. If I got accepted to Gettysburg, I would have been doing Civil War studies. If it was Monmouth, I would have been doing archaeology. If it was Del Val, it was actually going to be environmental science. And then if it was Centenary, it was actually going to be performing arts. One of these things is not like the other. So ultimately, what actually made me choose was the Warren County Fair. Del Val always shows every year at the Warren County Fair. Went out there, hung out with a bunch of Del Val students, realized, yeah, these are my people. So I went all in on the life gambling casino. I went all in on green and gold, and it came up jackpot. So I got accepted to Del Val. I started freshman year as an environmental science major. I got through half of the semester when I said, no, this ain't it for me. I quickly switched to livestock management, animal science specialization, livestock science and management when I said, yeah, this is a lot more my speed. So what tips do I have for choosing your college? Well, first off, who's giving you the most money? That is the most important thing to keep in mind. Who's giving you the biggest scholarship? Who's giving you the biggest tuition break? Who is giving you the most money counts. Additionally, where are you getting the most money from too? Is also going to help a lot. 4-H scholarships, Farm Bureau scholarships, Board of Ag scholarships. That's Rosanna Smith scholarship with the Market Land. The I should know it because I'm on the Board of Ag. The Tommy Everett scholarship. That was the one I'm on the committee for, and I couldn't even remember the name of it. But some of those are very specific about what you can use that for. So the Tommy Everett scholarship has to be second year in an ag career. So, you know, if you're going for performing arts, can't get it. But if you're going for something agriculture, you can get that. Most important thing too is follow what interests you. College is freaking expensive. And you don't want to spend all that money on college just to get a piece of paper that you're like, what am I going to do with this now? You know, do something that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life. Because you're going to waste a lot of money if you don't want to do it. Also, hands-on experience. A lot of studies have shown that the more hands-on experience you have, the more you actually can translate that into not only real life skills in the job industry, but inside of your brain. And for a guy like me, it's hard to get things up in here. So getting that hands-on experience will make sure that it sticks in there. You know, Del Valle, we were founded on that, the hands-on learning, experiential learning as our founder calls it. So get hands-on. It's not even loading up there now. All right, my next point is a student to faculty ratio. That is something that, you know, you might not think of it in the moment, but that is gonna matter a lot. You know, maybe you want a big school that you can be a face in the crowd. Or maybe you want a smaller school where you can be upfront and personal with your teachers. And, you know, personally, I wanted a smaller school. I didn't want to just be a person in the crowd. I wanted to have friends that will recognize me, and I'll walk down like Alumni Avenue, which is our main road on campus, and I'll get like, hello there. You know, hey. Sometimes that's important for people. And also, if you have that smaller student to faculty ratio, you can be a lot more personal with your professors, like I said, and that can create a relationship that I'll touch on later, but that can actually help you a lot more than you're gonna realize. Also, ag is a broad spectrum. It's more than veterinarians. You know, if you're going for livestock management, like I am, well, of course, you can be a farm manager, but you can also be a nutrition specialist. You can go to farms and say, hey, you need to feed more calcium in your diet. You need to feed more of this. You can go be a genetic specialist saying, hey, I've noticed your herd needs more of this trait, so I recommend breeding them with this bull. You can be at Del Valle alone, we have our animal science, which is, you know, what I'm in. We also have ag policy. So that is working with the government. The Farm Bureau does a lot of that. So ag policy, agriculture business, that's a huge major, and that's understanding how the business side of agriculture works. And, you know, that's something we need a lot more people of. So, all right, next, classes. Don't read this list. I'll be honest, I just threw a bunch of classes that I have to take up there, and, you know, you can read it if you want, but, you know, I was just filling the page. The most important thing that I want to show off is just how diverse and hands-on agriculture or animal science classes can get. So down there, that is a microscope slide from my biology 1 class. Don't ask me what it was because I don't remember. It was something from a plant. I know that. Next is me giving a presentation in my livestock industry and careers class. That was a really fun class. You learned all kinds of different things, how to be better at interviews, how to flesh out a resume, how to be confident in yourself and getting jobs. And then we had a bunch of people from the industry come in. So Dr. Higgins came in. There was a woman that's an equine therapist. All kinds of different careers in that one class. And we got to talk to all of them. And it was really neat too. They got into like the psyche of how it works, how giving an interview works. And the thing I thought was most interesting was you don't realize, but your inflection will show how confident you are. So there's an upward and a downward inflection. So think about that. If you go like, I don't know, I'm a good fit for this job. That's a downward inflection. That makes sure you're confident, you're sure employers are gonna like that. I'm confident for this job. It's kind of a lot more airy. Employers might be like, yeah. Up top, there's me milking at our dairy farm with animal husbandry techniques. That was another great class. Every week we were doing something. We were doing bleeding, milking, weaning, all kinds of fun things happened in that class. And there is one of my favorite photos from my time at Del Val. That's me learning how to AI. So we actually at Del Val offer a class in partnership with Select Sires. You go to a farm in Lancaster and you just practice AIing for hours on end. Artificial inseminating, if you're not familiar with which AI I'm in. And so because of that class, I'm now officially certified to AI in the nation. So that's something that's really going to come with you for the rest of your career, and that's really good looking. Some other things they have to take: intro to animal science, genetics, anatomy and physiology, physiology of lactation, farm business and management, agriculture economics, nutrition, beef science, swine science, livestock industry and careers. There's a whole lot more. Small ruminant science, alternative agriculture production. I literally could not fit all the classes that we offer on one page. I don't know.
Got it.
Fun fact, I meant to do that. No, I'm not done to do that yet. Anyways, involvement. What do I do at Del Val? And there's a lot that I do at Del Val. And really, so I'll just wait for that to catch up. So the first thing that I have on this list, trust me, it's there, is Dairy Challenge. Dairy Challenge is my favorite event at Del Val. Who's ever heard of Dairy Challenge? Now we got the Zoom workplace popping up on my end. Anyways, so Dairy Challenge. Did we just crash?
I think it froze, because you're not moving on Melissa's screen, like the laptop screen.
Yeah, well, Zoom just is now saying connecting and is giving me a loading error, so.
Good. So good.
Hey, Melissa?
Melissa?
Melissa! Does this factor into about 25 minutes?
I think if you're happy with it, like that.
Well, I
I can still hear and see you. You can keep talking.
Okay, so Dairy Challenge is a competition that we get a part of. It's a lot of fun. So for our, there's national and there's regional dairy challenges. And at nationals, this past semester was my first time going to Dairy Challenge. We went down to Gainesville, Florida, home of University of Florida, go Gators. And so what you do is, going over myself. Next semester, our fall semester is our regional. That's going to be in Worcester, Ohio. Spring semester is going to be nationals again. That's in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I don't know where regionals of my senior year is going to be, but nationals in Oklahoma City. So, traveling all over. And you're assigned to a team. It can be either an aggregate team or a college team. So you can either be on all people on from Del Val or your college, or it can just be a bunch of people. When I was on the aggregate team, it was me from Del Val. Hey.
There you go. You have to stand there.
Yay. Track on the podium, yeah. So yeah, so if you see right up there, that's my team that I was on with the UF Dairy sign. So there was a girl from University of North Carolina. There was a girl from, she was from Texas A&M. There's me from Del Val. That guy was from Cornell, Virginia Tech, and UConn. I was waiting for that. So you're assigned to a dairy farm. I'm not going to say the name of our farm. We are supposed to sign NDAs, but I mean, it is right there. So I'm not saying what the name is, but you can read. And you get all of the paperwork for that farm, their financial records, their herd health records, genetic records, everything. Everything you need to do a farm. And you go through that paperwork and you find any red flags in that paperwork. So when I went through, I was coming from the mind of, a herd health guy. So, right off the bat, I noticed that their somatic cell count, the total number of cells in the milk, super high. Florida's average is 180,000, national average is 200,000, theirs was 320,000. Mastitis cases, inflammation of the mammary gland or the udder, super high, 50-50, 50% uninfected, 50% infected. Of a herd of 420 cows, 213 had pneumonia. So herd health, big red flags. You then go to that farm, find all their mistakes. You're not following proper milking procedure. Your cows don't have cooling, don't have good ventilation. And you then create presentation where you give recommendations to the farmer and tell them what you're doing wrong. You have to give them a full budget, show that yes, this is all feasible, and then whoever does the most accurate and gives the best reasons and recommendations brings home the check. Block and Bridle is another national organization that promotes the agriculture industry. I love Block and Bridle, it's a lot of fun. The events we do at Del Val is meet in the middle day. So we either buy or get donated a lot of times now meat. So we've done pork loin, we've done pulled pork, we've done burgers, dogs, kielbasi, and we just cook all that food and we sell it back to the campus, all the students on campus. It's a lot better option than our dining hall, and you get to support local businesses. Because the main goal of that is to show off, this is a local product. You can go right down the road to that farm and get it yourself if you really like it. So supporting our industry. NISA, the Northeastern Student Affiliate for the Society of Animal Sciences, is one of my favorite competitions we take part in too. I'm actually trying to work with my co-leader to bring a national or a state, New Jersey state version, 4-H version, because it's 3 parts. So when we go to it, NISA, it's University of Delaware, University of Maryland, West Virginia University, Penn State, Rutgers, Del Val, University of Connecticut, University of Massachusetts Amherst, University of New Hampshire, and University of Maine. And you're all competing against each other in 3 aspects. There's a livestock judging, there's quiz bowl, and there's presentations. So that photo down there is of Del Val winning this year, first time ever winning it. We had 4 of the top 10 livestock judging teams. We had 6 of the top 10 livestock judging individuals, including the #1 spot. We had 2 in the top 10 quiz bowl. We had 2, including myself, in the top 6 presentations. And of course, we had #1 overall institution and #1 overall senior. There's a photo later in the presentation of my mom holding up the trophy crying. I love that photo and I use it whenever I can. Stockman's Contest, another event that Block and Bridle holds, where it's a livestock judging competition for 4-H's and schools in the area. So Branchford Beef Dairy and Livestock, we've been going since I think like 2013, 2014, before LSB was built. So that's a really great teaching the kids, our future, livestock judges, our future agriculture people, how to excel in the industry. And then A-Day, Lacey asked me to talk about it. So Lacey mentioned about A-Day. A-Day is a big fair that Del Val holds every year, and it is 100% student run. There is little to no faculty involvement. So all of your vendors, all of your entertainment, all of the security, That is all handled by Del Val students. I'm in charge of demonstrations, so we have our tree guys come in. You can see Joe right there playing in the tree. I have blacksmiths, I have rescue squad, I have police, canine. It's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, it's very fulfilling. If you've never gone to 8A, I recommend it. Not even as a Del Val thing. It's just a lot of fun to go to. There's some really neat local shops that come. There's really good food, and the blacksmith likes to just complain with me, so he's a fun guy. So what advice do I have too? First and foremost, you're gonna hear this 50,000 times, but get involved. There's a lot of clubs and organizations in any school you go to. Find a few, find even one that you click with and just go with it. You know, maybe you just do it for a semester. Yeah, this doesn't really work for me. Maybe you do it all 4 years, and eventually that club will lead to a job in the industry. You know, that's happened a lot with Block and Bridle. That's happened a lot with Collegiate Farm Bureau. It's pretty neat how just one club can set you on the career path. And most importantly, when you join those clubs, you actually also fulfill my second piece of advice, which is meet new people. You know, my best friend group, we all laugh because of the 5 of us, or however many there is. There's 3 from New Jersey, 1 from New York, 1 from Maryland, and 1 from Florida. There's no way we would have ever met each other if it weren't for college, which is ironic because the one girl's from White House. You know, literally my neighbor. Invest in a mattress topper. You know, we were told, like, tell what to pack, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell them to pack. What I would pack is different from what Eliza would pack, which is different from what you would pack, which is different from what you would pack. There's no definitive way for me to tell you what to pack, except for there's one thing, which is the mattress topper. Because one of my buddies, Eamon, was like, get a mattress topper. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. And I walk into my dorm freshman year, I'm like, oh God. Mattress was literally like laying on this table. And it was probably as dirty as this carpeting. You know, it was not fun. And as soon as I put that mattress on, topper on, I was like, thanks, Eamon, this was a good choice. So maybe that's just a Del Val thing. Maybe your dorming is going to be like the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, but better safe than sorry. Also, take advantage of hands-on opportunities. I keep running that down, keep hammering down on that, but it's because it is true. It has helped me, and frankly, half of my grades would be a lot lower than they are if it weren't for the hands-on practical side of it. And also, you know, I mentioned this earlier, take time to know your professors. So that photo with the Christmas tree right there is Dr. Craig Stutman. He was my US history since 1867 professor. And he's one of my favorite professors I've ever had. Because I got to know him, and because it was a pretty small class, he was very relaxed. And, you know, my favorite story of his was actually the day that photo was taken. He showed up 20 minutes late to class with a coffee and a box of donuts in his hands, tossed them down on the front desk, and goes, hey guys, sorry I'm late. I'm setting up a Christmas display over at the one national park by Del Val. So we're gonna watch a 15-minute video, and then we're just gonna leave because I got stuff to do there. But if anyone wants to come with me, you can. So I went with them, and it was a blast. I've also had professors, because I've got to know them, literally curve my grade from failing to passing. Because they know I worked hard for that grade, and just because it was low because they didn't understand a couple assignments doesn't mean I wasn't deserving of that grade. And I've also had the meanest teacher on Del Val become one of my best buddies, and even to this day my friends are like, how does Mopecha like you? And it was because I just stayed back one day, and my buddy was claiming he fought an alligator, and I turned to Dr. Mopecha and I said, hey, Dr. Mopecha, do you think this guy can fight an alligator? And Mopecha looked at him and goes, you couldn't even fight a hamster if you tried. And because of that one moment, Mopecha was so excited that just one student stayed behind to joke with him and laugh with him, that from that moment on, he was total 180 of how he was in class. And, you know, that one moment made him one of my good friends. And it really does affect your college career. And it's kind of weird to say, it's like, yeah, if you get to be friends with them, they will pass you. And it feels a little weird to say that, but you know, my mom's a college professor, and that's actually one of her pieces of advice is get to know them, because then that can change if you pass or fail. Are there any questions?
Would be if you didn't get into a Oof. Because I would like, she's like, oh, I can get tuition remission if you go to Rutgers, and none of her children went to Rutgers. So I would like to know what the cost would have been. If there had been a question.
So the question was, what would have the cost of Del Val been if I hadn't gotten that tuition waiver for having faculty, family, and it would have been, I think it's like 54,000. No, for out of state. For in-state, it's like 20 or 30.
I will say, I did apply to Nobel and I got like the presidential, like.
Yeah, I got that.
But it was only like, it was 25,000 after that, that was $20,000.
If you go from community college to there too, they also.
They offer like.
Yeah, I don't actually know too many people that, you know, it's a pretty steep tuition, but I don't know them will actually pay it. Because Del Val is so willing to give out tuitions and.
It's on the floor.
Yeah, it of course that then comes with what Lacey was saying, which is, you know, you have to have the grades to match in order to keep that tuition up. You know, some of the classes, you just need to show up half the time and you will get the grades to match. Any other questions?
You decide to get more involved with dairy when you're more involved.
So the question was, why did I get more involved in dairy when I haven't had much experience before that? And I don't really know what it was. You know, I've always been interested in dairy because my family had a dairy farm before we turned to beef. And you know, I would hear my grandfather telling stories of the dairy, like, and I was like, that actually kind of seems fun, because I'm a nut job that's like, milking at 3 o'clock? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. $1 an hour is your average salary? Why not? So I wound up getting a job at Ensenada Holsteins, it's owned by the Bishop family. They're very involved with Bucks County 4-H, and so I know New Center works with them a little, right? And so I started milking there, and you know, then I got involved with the dairy challenge, and it's just a lot of fun. And also, frankly, dairy cows tend to be a lot nicer than beef cows, so that kind of won me over too. I don't have to break any more ribs.
It's a great way to end your thing.
Yeah.
All
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, for those that have joined on Zoom, you are welcome to sign off. This is concluded.